Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AM4 Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on conservative talk radio. Great to have you in the conversation. Honored and pleased to welcome to our decision maker line Dr. Alveda King. She is the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., and she is the pastoral associate of Priests for Life and the director of African American outreach for them. Alveda, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Brian, thank you. I'm so glad to join Focal Point today. This is just wonderful.
Well, it's great to have you on the program, Alveda. I think we've had you on before, but this is maybe the second or third time. Great to have you back with us. And the reason I was prompted to invite you on the program, I'm looking at a piece that you wrote, sort of a release that you issued kind of in connection with the Supreme Court hearing with the Hobby Lobby, Conestoga Wood, and all that yesterday. And the heading of your piece is that religious freedom is a civil and human right. And I want you to expand on that a little bit, because when we think of the phrase civil rights, people have sort of a pretty narrow vision of what that includes. And what you're saying is maybe people's vision of the term civil rights is a little too narrow, and we need to be sure that religious freedom is one of the things we include in that term.
You have so appropriately discerned exactly the truth of that. In that, we think about civil rights. We remember the 20th century, my famous uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Sometimes you'll think about my dad, Reverend Alfred Daniel Williams King, his brother, marching, dealing with the issue of skin color in the 20th century. Now, in the 21st century, we're concerned about all human beings, from conception or fertilization until natural death, the elderly, the sick, the babies. We're concerned about men and women, and all of that, all of those issues. We all have human issues, and we should be entitled to civil rights, to human dignity, human rights. And right now, that is being denied on so many fronts. Now, also civil rights, dealing with the civil concerns of a society. There is a United States Constitution that we have enjoyed for many, many years. All people are created equal, men being male and female. And we're entitled to the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In our Constitution, we're guaranteed certain human rights and human privileges, including our religious freedom, not just the right to go to church and not be penalized or prosecuted, not just the right to read the Bible, but to believe those standards and principles that we get there at church or in our homes as we study and read the Bible together. That is why I said in that same release, and it was so important that we looked at that, and I just want to restate that we, many people do not even realize what is going on. And these arguments this week involve the lives of every American. But many people are really unaware of what this discussion and this battle is about.
Well, and you go back to the Declaration of Independence, talking here with Dr. Alveda King about the issue of civil rights and religious freedom being one of those, although a lot of people don't think of it that way. But you go back to the Declaration of Independence, and Thomas Jefferson said, look, there are a number of unalienable rights that we have because they are bestowed upon us by the Creator. That's why they're unalienable. They cannot be taken away from us. We cannot be deprived of them in any kind of moral or ethical way because they've been given to us by God. So no human agency, no government has the right to deprive us of these because they come to us from God. And the right to life is the very first one of those, and that's one of the things that was on the table yesterday in the Supreme Court. I want you to talk about that. And then the right to liberty. And we understand that the unalienable right to liberty, that's what the move to abolish slavery was all about. We had an entire part of our population that did not have the unalienable right to liberty. That was wrong. God had given them that liberty. It was being infringed. It needed to be corrected. And the civil rights movement had a lot to do with protecting the unalienable right to liberty. But, and this is what I want you to comment on as well, Alveda, we don't often think of religious freedom as part of the unalienable right to liberty that's a gift to us from the Creator. And that's what the founders protected in the First Amendment, and that's what's kind of up for grabs right now. What was at stake yesterday at the Supreme Court, both the right to life and the right to liberty.
That is so true. The right to life, liberty, and as again I say, religious freedom, the right to worship God, the right to not worship God, the right to choose a church denomination or not have one at all, the right to run a business in the United States of America and close that business on Sunday or Saturday, depending if you're keeping the Saturday Sabbath or the Sunday Sabbath. And so for those who make those decisions, that is an inalienable right. And those rights and privileges are being attacked. Now, and I really have a little challenge in correctly pronouncing the other Conestoga Woods. Please forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
But they were the Supreme Court was looking at two cases, Hobby Lobby and Conestoga Woods. But there are so many other organizations that are in the same position. Priests for Life, for example, where I'm the director of African American Outreach for Priests for Life. I'm post-aborted because I was tricked, excuse me, and deceived about a woman's rights. And at one time in my life, I had 2 abortions and a miscarriage that was related to harm that was done to my own body. And once through my own grandfather, who kept me from aborting yet another child, through many Christians who prayed for me, through scientific research, investigating and taking a look at the fact that these are real human beings in the womb of a mother and not just a lump of flesh or a blob of tissue. It's a long story, and I don't have time to explain all of that. But I became pro-life after I was born again in 1983. And I realized that these were human beings in the womb with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, or they should have it. And then women are injured and hurt by the birth control and the easy access to abortion and free birth control. So Priests for Life teaches this and many other things, human dignity, everything. And so you're going to make my organization that I work for provide for me an insurance plan that gives to women at our company the same thing that we spend every day educating and teaching against.
And
now, I want to know where the justice in that is. There is no justice there.
And Alveda, you're talking about your role with Priests for Life. Dr.
Yes.
Frank Pavone is the head of Priests for Life, or Father Frank Pavone, head of, he's the national director of Priests for Life. So these are priests, Alveda. You work with them. You're part of this organization.
Yes, I'm a Protestant member of the staff there. And, you know, Father Frank said when we met, we laughed about it. And my uncle said that he had a dream that Protestants and Catholics and Gentiles and Jews would join together and sing Free at Last. And so Father Frank said, well, let's sing Free at Last. And we do, yeah.
But what you're talking about here, I mean, this is Priests for Life, Alveda. So these are in the Roman Catholic tradition. They have conscientious, religiously based objections, not just to abortion, but also to contraception because it interferes with God's design for the procreative process. And Father Pavone, as a priest, is single. He is celibate. He's not going to be conceiving children, not going to be having a family. And yet what you're saying is here you've got this government law that's going to order your organization, Priests for Life, to provide contraceptives, which you spend all of your time, and abortions, which you spend all of your time sort of informing people about, educating and mobilizing people against. So you would be forced not only to violate your own conscience, but to be working against the very values that you are defending in the public square.
This is it. And then the justices on yesterday, during the opening arguments and all of that, Justice Sotomayor and Kagan suggested that if we do have moral objections to birth control, don't provide health care coverage for the employees. Take the money that is used by the employer to subsidize the insurance and just give the employee a raise and have the employee go find medical insurance. I think that that's absolutely terrible. Or they said you can opt out of this by paying a tax or a heavy toll or a fine. And I understand, though, the feminist mentality of the wounded feminist who has not given over her anger and hurt against injustices to women to the Lord. And I say, take your burdens to the cross, to the Lord, and leave them there. And so they want to take on vengeance themselves and not give vengeance to God where it belongs. And this is where this kind of thinking happens. We don't care if women die by abortion. We don't care if babies die by abortion. We don't care if women have strokes and heart attacks from taking free birth control. So be it. Because women have been oppressed too long, and the only way you can liberate a woman is to allow her to take carcinogenic birth control and hurt her body, or have an abortion and kill her child. That is just totally unreasonable, illogical. It's anger and emotion speaking, not even sanity speaking.
Well, you know, and I'm thinking about I talked about this in the first hour, but the response of Kagan and Sotomayor, well, just pay the fine. What's the deal? You don't have to. I mean, that sounded to me so callous and so indifferent, because that was going to be a pretty hefty fine in the case of Hobby Lobby, probably $260,000 a year. And regardless of how you slice it up, that's still going to be a penalty for exercising religious liberty. You're going to have to pay a penalty to be able to exercise religious for. And I know
We've been founded, but I'm telling you, that's the angry feminism. That's not the Susan B. Anthony feminist. That's the radical feminist that I'm angry and I will destroy everything in my path until I get my way. You hurt me, and so now I'm going to have my way. If it kills baby and maims women, so be it. That is not good thinking.
And Alveda, talking here with Dr. Alveda King with Priests for Life. She works with them. She's a pastoral associate with Priests for Life. She is the director of their African American outreach. And Alveda, you too have a lawsuit on this HHS mandate. You've appealed to the Supreme Court to hear your case, which is similar in nature to the Hobby Lobby case. That petition is going to be heard this week on Friday, just 2 days from now. The Supreme Court is going to take up your petition. So God bless you, and God bless your efforts to seek redress for this civil right in the courts. Thank you, Alveda. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
Alveda King, Priests for Life with us, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., so certainly has every a bit of street cred you can have when you're talking about the issue of civil rights. And she says, look, religious freedom, that's every bit as much a civil right as all of the other rights that my uncle and my father marched for. Focal Point, AFR Talk.